For the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to roll call.
Frank Myers.
Here.
Donna Roush.
Here.
Martha Patterson.
Here.
Casey Benner.
Here.
Leanne Woldvogel.
Here.
Okay, and we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I have a motion
A second?
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So moving on to the approval of minutes from our meeting for October 21st of 2019.
Anna and I weren't here, so we can't vote on that.
I approve that the minutes from last meeting, October 21st, be accepted as written here.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the introduction of evidence.
I have the design guidelines and the municipal code here, in addition to the staff report that you received via email last week. There was a hard copy on the table along with the supporting materials.
Make a motion, we accept the input from the,
Okay, I have a motion to accept introduction of evidence. Do I have a second?
I second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to old business. The historic preservation economic hardship determination.
You remember last meeting, we were 3 instead of 5, so there was some discussion, but there was a motion to table until we had the full body here, and we do this evening. I did change a few minor words, but it is basically the same content as that meeting.
I'm glad the video, because I watched it.
There you go.
Would we like to have a discussion on the proposed addition to the historic preservation ordinance and our hardship determinations? Do we want to go ahead and move forward with a motion to move it forward to the alderman?
I think we should discuss it a little bit more
Okay.
before we move it. And I'm not opposed to it, believe me.
Okay,
I think we need that in the community, but sometimes just a slight difference in words can make a big difference in the long run.
so as presented in this one, the newest one, is there anything that you would like to see changed?
I have a series of notes.
Okay.
But I'd just as soon not bring them up at this meeting.
Okay,
Wait till we can get a meeting.
so like a work session?
Yes, a work session.
To work on it? Okay,
I think it's important enough that we do that, because if we apply it to the right people, it's a great improvement. If we somehow, the population has found a way to get around it, it can be a disaster to
understandable.
preservation.
So would you like to make a motion that we table it to a work session and we schedule a work
I
session?
would like to make that motion, yes.
Okay. So I have a motion for tabling the unnecessary hardships to a work session.
Well, we'll probably table it, and then we'll hold a work session if that's,
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll work.
if that's what everyone is okay with.
Why don't we do it now? We've talked it to death.
We can. Does anyone else have any questions? No.
I think it's pretty clear, because whatever a homeowner or property owner requests still comes back to the commission to be approved. We still have the final say. And to me, the only thing that this really helps people is it will not become public, their hardship, to the full commission. It would go to you, David?
The unnecessary hardship would be given to you, the status, but the documents would come to me.
Right, would still come to us. It still would be our decision to approve any request.
Correct.
But that approval of the approval of that particular project would be done in open session.
Correct.
And we would have to, would we have to identify at that time that it is?
Your staff report would have, like it says now, this structure, pardon me, the house and garage are considered a contributing structure to the National Register of Historic District. There would be something of that. I would add another line that says, this application has qualified, or this applicant has qualified for unnecessary hardship. So you would have that as part of your packet to consider for your decision.
And if they're not approved, we go right back to table one. I mean, if the person that is applying is not approved for a hardship, it would come right back as originally presented.
Yes, if the applicant decided to just apply for a certificate and was denied, they could then go the route of unnecessary hardship.
Sure.
And then it would come back to you with that phrase on it, were they to qualify.
Sure.
But it would be with some identifiable part of his submission that we reduced his compliance with the guidelines.
If it were denied, first off, I would assume there were something that would need to be reduced.
Yeah.
Or that was being asked to be reduced.
Yeah.
And so now it would come back to you with the unnecessary hardship status, whether it would be changed, let's say it was windows, whether the applicant would change what they wanted to do would be up to them.
Also, too, this has to go before the Board of Aldermen to be approved. Maybe they have input that they would like to see changes.
That's correct. It does have to go before the Board of Aldermen to be approved. But I think they may very well have questions, but they're looking to you for the recommendation.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
You would recommend it to them.
right.
If they didn't like it, I would come back to you. But at that point, I would think that's what this body is. You recommend this to them, yeah.
Is there a time that the applications for certificates of appropriateness, are they public property? Are they publicly viewable?
This information?
Yes.
Yes.
So in that
the
case,
fact that
would
they
the-
would qualify for unnecessary hardship would be a public piece of information, but not the tax returns.
Right. Frank, what were the notes that you were most concerned about?
I had a whole series of them, and unfortunately, I left them on the table when I got to the meeting. And it's just that it's very important that we maintain, I think, the guidelines, strict enforcement of them. And I think we'll be surprised at the amount of, the number of people that will apply.
Well, if
And
David, do you know the limits, the income limits by chance?
I do. What I wrote were that anyone at or below the federal low income limit as determined by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services would qualify. The federal low income limit for fiscal year 2019, depending on size of family, there are factors here. If it were a family of 4, which is typically the standard, the low income limit, that's very specific because there's also the extremely low income and the very low income. This is the low income limit for a family of 4 is $51,850. That's for fiscal year 2019.
so anyone below that level?
Family of 4.
Family of 4,
It depends
yeah.
on the family size. So if it was a husband and wife, family of 2, their income would have to be $41,500 or below. Depends on the family size.
Yeah.
So if someone did, by those guidelines, qualify for unnecessary hardship, and the commission did not approve their request, would we be legally liable for?
I don't think any
Anything in
more
the
so
future?
than you were to begin with. Clearly says that passing upon the application, the commission shall have the power to vary or modify adherence to this article. So you can vary or modify. Particularly though, I put, provided always that the requirements ensure harmony with the general purposes hereof, that would be of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the preservation of basic form and rhythm of structures, and will not adversely affect the historic district as a whole or any designated landmark. Now there's some subjective terms there, but the process in itself is subjective.
One of the problems too is it says the guidelines for the application of unnecessary hardship shall be determined by the commission as a part of its operational rules and procedures.
Right.
Where are the rules and procedures?
Well, the rules and procedures to apply for a certificate of appropriateness aren't in ordinance. Those are created by you all.
Okay.
Applications are approved and forms.
So we will see that.
Yes, I would create an application, but by approving this, you're kind of telling me that the low income limit is the bar for approval. I would form an application. I would create an application. and
That,
submit it.
I recognize that you
Yeah.
have to have some standard for
Yeah.
that, and what
And you
you've
would have the power to
selected,
change that standard.
what you've selected, I think, is a real rational approach to it.
If this were adopted and there were all kinds of applications, and you saw it fit to change that, you could put that the standard was 80% of the federal low income limit, or you could change it to the very low income limit. That's up to you. I selected this one because the federal government says this is low income. And I can pass this around if you would wish to look at it.
No, it's a federal,
It is a federal document.
yeah, and I think you're going to have a guideline, and that one is available, and it should make sense, yeah. I have no qualms with that.
Okay.
I just am concerned that we are not taking it as seriously as we should. Because I think the result is going to be somewhat larger than we anticipate. And I'm not against approving it. At some stage, I think it needs to be approved, but I think we need a sit-down closed session and
It couldn't be
the work
closed.
session.
Can't be a closed session.
Couldn't be closed session. Work session is what.
Yes, a work session, okay.
Yeah.
But I do think we need that before we approve it.
I would like to make a motion that we approve this.
You'd like to make a motion to recommend this to the
To
Board of
recommend-
Aldermen?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a motion to move forward and recommend as provided and written tonight to the Board of Aldermen for their approval, and I also have a motion to table.
Motion for table came up first. You need to see if you can get a second.
So I have a motion to table this for later, and then we will plan a work session to go over that. I have a motion. Do I have a second on that?
I second it.
So I have a motion and a second to table. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Aye.
So pass 4-1. Okay?
Okay. So we will table this and plan a work session. And hopefully after the work session, we will be able to move it forward to the alderman in the next meeting. Anything else with old business?
Couple things. So the other motion will die for lack of a second.
Second
let's-
motion is
It
now
wasn't-
would be
It
inappropriate.
wasn't even legal anyway.
Right.
Work session. So would you like to have that in December, or would you, because of holidays, like to push that to January?
January. I make a motion, we push it to January.
I don't need a motion, but thank you. Is
Whatever I
January
have to do.
acceptable?
Should be.
At any time it's acceptable to me.
Okay. I will look at some dates and send them out to you so we can try to pull something
Okay.
together in January. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
I have a question on old business.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know what engineered wood siding is that came up in the last meeting.
It's basically wood particles glued together. That's a real basic definition. So it's wood, but it's wood chips and pieces and.
Particle board?
Basically,
And yes and no?
basically,
It's-
but they much
I have the
stronger,
sample, and I can show you after the meeting.
Glue, weatherproof, and there.
It has a couple of layers of, well, it has glue, obviously, and then it has a layer of, well, I can't remember the chemical, and then paint over the top of that. And I believe he said it has a 30 or 40 year.
It was a,
Oh, my goodness.
I might have it in my notes.
I'll grab it and show it to you after the meeting.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
So it's got like a vinyl covering all over it and then paint over that.
Yes.
Maybe a new way of mending.
Yeah,
He was not aware of any building around town that currently had it because several, or a couple of them asked about it. So I haven't seen it
yeah,
start
they
going up yet
brought
either.
in a sample and it looked as good as most siding. I'm looking forward to see what it looks like when it goes up.
Sounds like a whole new direction.
Could be.
Depending on what paint they put on it, if it's a real glossy paint, I think it's gonna look a lot like vinyl.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, an eggshell or a flat would look better. I had a little question about whether the size would look appropriate, but we'll find out.
Find out? Okay.
The mural, we're just gonna have to wait and find out.
Does it come in various shapes, different sizes, or are we limited to the one size?
what he showed me offered one width.
One width, yeah,
I think it was approximately 6 inches.
yeah. I hope it works out. But I don't.
We shall see.
Take a few years to know whether that's a good thought or not.
Any other questions on old business? Good, okay. Let's move on to new business. So tonight we have SGHC 005-20 to receive a certificate of appropriateness to install a metal exposed fastener roof on the residence and detached garage at 476 Roberts. And we have someone here.
Hi, I'm Deborah Lomander. I'm the owner of the house. And I'd like to apologize when I was kind of panicked because Monday when we had the snow, my roof, I had leaking into the house. So I knew I needed a new roof, and I'd already had a bid, but I wasn't planning on doing anything until after the new year. And then all of a sudden I needed to put a bucket in my spare bedroom. So according to David, I hurried up and got a COA into you guys like the next morning, and I could be on the agenda for today. So I rushed it and I wasn't really paying attention. I just knew I wanted a metal roof. And what I was reading on what was currently on the house was the standing seam. But the bid I got was for exposed fastener, which is still, I didn't know anything about metal roofs either. All I knew was a normal metal roof and then the kind of you see on a barn, which I knew I didn't want. So this is something in between the exposed fastener, which I think still looks really nice. What I have now is asbestos, which they don't even make anymore, so I can't get a replacement of what I have, so I have to get something else. So I think metal roofs look really nice. And this one, Joe Bowman is who I got the bid from. And I wanted to get a sample to bring in to show you guys, but they couldn't get one to me in time. But they said they had just done one, or they have one here in town, the old Jug building up on North Main. So it'd be that type of roof, which you all have approved already.
What are the nails, the fasteners, what are they consisted of?
Typically metal screws with a rubber type washer.
Somewhat like, yeah, with more siding, yeah, I think. I'm not, I mean, the metal roof itself, does it need periodic painting? Like
Look,
a standing seam roof, the old standing seam roofs, you could keep them almost forever if you kept them painted.
Yeah, I think it's the same on
And I
this
would
too.
hope that this product is the same, but I think the vulnerability would be the fasteners.
It doesn't have a paint lifetime or suggestion. I mean, it's just part of the warranty, and I don't think we've seen enough of them in town long enough yet
Yeah, that's
to
true.
determine if they're going to last as long as an old standing seam roof.
Fasteners are on the building the city owned are neoprene, and they last a long time, but they eventually wear out.
Yeah,
And
that's what
it's just a maintenance item. When
Yeah,
that
it's
happens-
recommended that you get routine maintenance on them.
Right.
But that's the weak part, exactly, is that neoprene washer.
yeah, I've seen this, I mean, metal fasteners and exposed fasteners used on roofs, and there's maintenance involved with the old-fashioned way. I'm just wondering whether they've come up with something that eliminates that concern.
I know the old rubber type washers will crack and dissolve
That's
after so
right,
many years
and
of
you-
sun.
Yeah, these are high-density plastic, but they too, you're exposed to sunlight and deteriorate over time.
But if you do maintenance and keep them covered with some sort of waterproof paint or
Mhm.
sealer.
Yeah, I know there's
they
some
should
type of
last.
maintenance program involved that you can, which I plan on doing, because the roof
Well, that.
is supposed to last, what, 30 or 40 years if you take care of it.
You think they last forever, but they only last forever if you keep them.
Well,
Exactly.
that's anything.
Keep them painted.
Could I look at your papers here on this. I did not.
What do you need, sheet of paper?
No, just the papers on this application. Because I do think that would look really nice with the metal earth throughout.
Oh, yeah. And on the garage too, to keep it up.
Yeah, I agree with what you're trying to do, it's just that I have questions about the product.
Uh-huh.
And I have no reason to think that it isn't satisfactory, but I have no experience to tell me that it is.
I know they have a longer warranty than a asphalt shingle roof would. Asphalt
Yes.
shingles, but like 15, 20 years or something like that. I know these are normally like 30 or 50. I'm not sure exactly which one this one is.
This has a 40-year limited
40-year.
warranty. It's 29 gauge. They have 3 types available. This is called the strong rib. So that information is in this part of the packet.
And I know what you're saying about the roofing you have now, because I've got the same thing. And so the people
And it's
across
falling
the
off,
street
yeah.
from us,
It's falling off and you
They
can't.
replaced part of the roof and came over and said, "Do you have any extra of that?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, no, sorry."
You have cement asbestos on it now?
Yes.
Yeah, I can understand why you would like to get rid of that.
Well, pieces of it are actually falling off, and somebody took a piece of the asbestos siding, which is white, and shoved it up there. So I've got a hunk of white on my roof.
And you're doing the garage to match?
Yes. Yeah, because right now it has rotting rafter ends coming out, and it definitely needs some work done.
Do we have any questions about the roofing materials? Okay, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we approve SGHC 00520.
Okay.
Go ahead and have a word.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the certificate of appropriateness to install her metal roof. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to administrative approvals.
I have none.
Okay. Other business, so I passed around the card from Joy to share with you guys, and at the Board of Aldermen meeting on Thursday, she received a little plaque of certificate of appreciation, and then she gave a little speech, and she actually thanked everyone for the process, and it mentioned us by name, and was very thankful that we worked with her to get this done. She did a great job on the mural. I've seen lots of people taking pictures, like as I'm coming through town, like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
almost always somebody out there. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we were mentioned at the Alderman's meeting also. Anything else in other business from anyone? Okay, do we have any public comments? Nope. All right.
I do want to thank you for that article.
Yes, about moving the house to St. Genevieve?
Yes.
Yes, I still have yet to know where that might be, but I wanted to just pass it on to you.
Yeah, well, what better place?
Okay, and moving on to adjourning our meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion and a second.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too.